Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Szymon Sala, and I work at the Space Research Center in Warsaw, Poland. I am here today to talk to you about correlation of the flooding regime with the presence of Solidago gigantea over the valley of Narew in Poland. The study was conducted by me and my colleagues from CBK and our friends from Center for Research and Technology in ELAS. What were our research objectives? Monitoring the spread of invasive species and their impact on biodiversity. So probably as you may know, invasive species is an introduced organism that becomes easily overpopulated in its new environment, and it's affecting the habitats and bioregions, causing ecological and environmental damage. Focusing on Solidago gigantea and its negative effects on ecosystems surrounding rivers and floodplain terraces using phenological metrics. The main reason for monitoring the spread of Solidago gigantea is its impact on its habitats, where it's beginning to establish itself using satellite data, capturing the turnover of open surface water extent over the river valleys and its impact on the expansion of the species. We decided to investigate whether regularly occurring floods significantly affect the spread of this species, whether they halt the plant reproduction or increase its rate of spreading, or maybe some exceptional circumstances must exist for the impact to be significant. And lastly, identifying patterns of spatial distribution of the Solidago gigantea with a correlation to water regime fluctuations. So we tried to find a correlation between the species areas of occurrence and areas of regular flooding. Our study area are the valleys of the Vistula and Narew rivers, located in central Poland, northwest of Warsaw. And we selected areas of riparian zones and meadows located near the flood terraces. Okay, research steps. Fieldwork, collection of data about the investigated species using GPS tools. We used handheld GPS tools and lysimeter to gather the data. Analysis of satellite data, classification of Solidago gigantea based on the derived phenology metrics from the Sentinel-2 images of a whole vegetation period and on images from May and from end of July, where we assumed to identify most discrimination potential. Using the data gathered, we were able to prepare a classification. So the plant has a blooming season from August to October. So using the description of periodic plant life cycle events across the growing season, we were able to identify it on satellite images. Analysis of hydro periods in 2019 and 2020 using radar Sentinel-1 data, finding seasonal patterns of flooding. Assessments of the flooded areas was done using radar data, such as Sentinel-1 imagery provided by the European Space Agency. Using this data, we were able to find some patterns in flooding. And lastly, juxtaposing reference data against open surface water data to find correlation with spatial distribution using of the species using statistical methods. So the fieldwork, we managed to collect 225 points around the riverbanks. The points were collected around the end of May. As you can see, the plant is creating huge patches, pushing the native species out of their natural habitat. We decided to collect points only for areas, squares around 10 by 10 meters, because that corresponds to the Sentinel pixel. The species, as literature says, littoral sets is easily grown in average, moderately rich, moist, wet, well-drained soils in full sun. It tolerates light shade and it's intolerant of full shade, and it is said that it performs best with constant moisture and tolerates some flooding in the spring. So we decided to check that. Analysis of the satellite data. Plants are the most common focus of the phenological studies because of their fixed location and suitability for repeated seasonal observations, because of timing of, for example, leafing or blooming or flowering. These are the most common growth stages defined as phenophases, and it's an observable stage or phase in annual life cycle of a plant that can be defined by the start and end point. As you can see, the algorithm utilizes time series NDVI images to detect the start of the season, peak of the season, and end of the season, where the activity starts to decrease rapidly. The results for the seasons 2019-2020 utilizing 15 Sentinel to NDVI images on Solidago area are shown on those maps. You can see start of the season, the day where the green up occurred, peak of the season, the day of the year that the maximum value of the NDVI occurred, and end of the season, which corresponds to the day of the year that the senescence occurred. So the Phoenix package module was used to generate to smooth out the NDVI curve using these methods. Double sigmoidal function, linear interpolation function, double logistic function, symmetric or asymmetric Gaussian function, and fast Fourier transform. Using these, the data gathered in field and all the phenology metrics and sentinel bands, there was a data frame created. The target was all of the points labeled 1, which corresponds to existence of the plant, expanding 5 meters away from the point across all direction. And for each labeled point, there was a pixel corresponding to it retrieving all of the bands metadata. And lastly, the classification was conducted using random forest classifier and support vector machine, the methods with the highest accuracy generated our map of classification. Floods monitoring. The input data for floods monitoring was Sentinel-1 data, S2 GLC land cover map, and riparian zones modeled from the digital elevation model. Sentinel-1 has a temporal resolution of 1 image per orbit every 6 days, ascending and descending orbits, and it only needs 3 days to cover our whole country. It's Sentinel-1. It's an imaging mission providing continuous all-weather day and night imagery. That's why it was used to find daily flooding data. Here you can see the workflow. The inputs are pre-processed and the change detection is derived from that. Then the floods are classified and masked using auxiliary data such as riparian zones and land cover. Then the data is mosaicked, reclassified, and countrywide map updated, and as a geoportal publication. Here are the examples. As you can see, there is the map of change detection and the results. We can find floods that are ascending, stagnant, or receding. And we can see the permanent water here as well. The analysis of hydro periods, an algorithm for detecting changes between two S1 images was used, the purpose of which is to indicate locations where ascending or receding flooding has occurred. To improve the efficiency of the change detection, water surface classification was performed. Here you can see the water surface classification and the final product. Those are the ascending and descending flood zones. And using this data, we could find patterns in flooding. The detection was carried out as well for years 2019 and 2020. This way we were able to find areas which are characterized by continuous days of dryness, continuous days of flooding, whole flood counts, and total floods. Here are the maps for 2020. And the results. We generated 500 random points inside the study area, excluding permanent area of water. Statistics were calculated based on the classification and hydro period raster data using logistic regression. 285 points have been drawn outside the Solidago class, 250 have been drawn inside. And using the statistics, we find that only two of the flood patterns are statistically significant. The flood continuous days negatively impact the spread of the plant. It inhibits the growth, and continuous days of dryness positively impact the spread of Solidago gigantea. Further steps are, it was just a preliminary research. We plan to widen the study area, including more rivers into the research, detecting flooding for whole Sentinel-1 mission from 2015 to 2021, and finding maybe patterns that are seasonal, maybe only in certain seasons, how they affect the spreading. And that's all. Thank you to all wonderful people from CBK and SERF who were involved in this project, and many thanks to all of you listeners here at IALE. Thank you very much.